All righty, welcome, dear friends, to our Intergenerational Confirmation class. This is Reverend Phil Anderson here, Oakland United Methodist Church in Kansas Avenue United Methodist Church, coming to you a little bit early. Again, my schedule gets a little full here in the late afternoon and evening. I had a few minutes, so rather than missing this altogether and having to do it another time, I thought let's just get together here, and if you don't see it live, God willing, you'll be watching it on Facebook and maybe even on our kaumc.church website after a while. So again, this is Reverend Phil Anderson, pastor of Oakland United Methodist Church and Kansas Avenue United Methodist Church. Not sure how many. Hi, Rose. Welcome. I see Rose is here with us. Good to see you, Rose. I hope you're having a great Thursday. You know, I don't like to repeat myself because if you got it, you got it, right? But so many people are coming into these and they're not always sure what we're doing. So I'm going to give you a very brief explanation just in case you haven't been with us on these classes. And these are not necessarily classes in the traditional sense of the word class, because we don't have any homework, we don't have any real reading assignments, we don't have any tests or examinations, we don't have any even discussion right now because of the nature of this. And my goal in doing this, it all goes back to the summer of 2019 when I was in what was called licensing school. And that's kind of a boot camp for people who are like me coming into the ministry with the United Methodist Church here in the Great Plains Conference. And we had an intensive 5-day session up at Cozad, Nebraska at a place called Camp Comika, way out in the hinterlands of western Nebraska. It was beautiful. Good, Rose. Glad to see you doing good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a beautiful day. Rose is listening. I'm not sure how many people realize the idea of the confirmation class, but I'm sitting in this big classroom with about 25 other folks from Kansas and Nebraska. Wonderful people, love the Lord. They're good people, and then we went down about. So that was like 2 weeks before we started in our assignments as pastors. So we had that 1 week down up in Nebraska. And then about a month later, we'd had about 3 weeks under our belt, and we went to Great Bend, and we were at what's called the Heartland Center for Spirituality. And it's a former convent for Catholic nuns, I believe. And if you ever have a chance, anybody can go there for a retreat. It's very reasonable. People treat you very nicely. Best part of all, there's coffee 24/7 if you want to go and get a cup. It's very quiet, and you're to yourself as much as you want to be. I really enjoyed the Heartland Center for Spirituality. That was our second and final week of licensing school. And then since then, we've had lots of other training sessions and classes. But the reason I'm bringing this up is the idea for this intergenerational confirmation class kind of came to me while I was at the licensing school. I believe God gave the idea to me because how else would I have gotten it, honestly? And the idea was to have a class where we teach the basics of the Christian faith, making sure everybody's got it, or at least reviewing it. And I don't think we've ever really got it. You know, I mean, I go back to baseball, and the guys that are professional players for major league teams, they go through spring training every year. They go through all the same drills they went through when they were 7 years old playing Little League. So you never really master it, and I think that's the case with our Christian faith. It is always a journey. And so I wanted to do this where I could really help get the younger people involved, but I also wanted to get older people, you know, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s. I didn't care. I wanted everybody to be a part, and I thought there was something to be said for having a mixture of ages. Well, while we were getting ready to kick that off, of course, COVID happened. And I'm going to tell you right now, if y'all know me and you've listened to me, I don't make any excuses, hopefully, about anything. I've learned that when I was a child. My brother really drilled that into me. Don't make excuses, you know. Even today at work, I could have made an excuse one time. I was like, and I didn't. I mean, it was a valid point that I had, but I'm not going, and it was no big deal, ultimately. I mean, honestly, it wasn't a huge deal, but nobody wants to hear people making excuses, first of all. Secondly, just own up to what it is and move on. And so with COVID, we just had to move on. We can't sit and be making excuses why something didn't happen. So in reality, I thought, well, let's move on. Let's do something. And once we got our Facebook Live going in November, we started this confirmation class as soon as we could. The one thing we could not do, and that was to meet together at that point. We just didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now, some people did. But, we also heard lots of stories where churches got together and a lot of people ended up getting really sick with COVID. So, those that met and didn't have any illness, thank God, and I praise the Lord for that. But we played it pretty safe. We're still kind of playing it safe to a large degree. But anyway, we started the confirmation class, and then real quickly, basically, I don't have a textbook right now that I'm using. And so what it is, I am going through some of the things that I have found that I have been taught myself, but in particular, I'm leaning on the Martin Luther Catechism, because Martin Luther, I think, was the one that really started the idea of confirmation or catechism in terms of how we use it today, which is basically instilling the beliefs of the Christian church so that we know them, we can articulate them, and we can practice them, all those things. And so that's why I think it's really important, especially for young people, because they're not going to get it watching Nickelodeon, MTV, or Netflix, obviously. And so if we in the church can't get this message out, something's wrong. And I believe that this is a grand opportunity for these two churches, because I'm going to tell you, there's very few Protestant churches that I know of that do confirmation. I've been in a lot of different churches. I've picked up a lot of things everywhere I've gone, which I think has kind of brought me to the point that I'm at now. But there are churches that still do confirmation, but you see a lot of that in some of the more mainline churches and like the Catholic Church. Well, where's some of the other Protestant churches doing it? Now, some Methodist churches do offer it, but not all. And so, make a long story short, I just kind of had to tailor it to what I thought was going to work. And so we are still in the middle of this process. And a little announcement is that starting this Sunday, which will be May the 9th? Yeah, May the 9th, at Kansas Avenue, things are going to get relaxed just a little bit. And kind of interesting, we had a board meeting the other night. Excuse me, I dropped my other phone here. It's got some information on it. We had a board meeting the other night, and we decided that we're going to kind of, we're going to loosen up a little bit on some of the requirements that we had with our face mask. They're going to be optional. We're going to recommend them. We're going to encourage them. But if somebody doesn't want to wear them, we're just going to ask them again to take extreme caution and, keep your distance and be protective, and don't come to church, obviously, if you don't feel well. But, like I said, we go into restaurants now. Apparently, I haven't been to any, but I guess you can go to restaurants and they're not wearing masks and people are being careful. A lot of the stores, they still want you to wear them, obviously. I was at some of the stores even recently, they say it's a requirement. So anyway, don't want to get off on that, other than we're going to see a little bit more of a loosening up at both of these churches, I believe, coming up in the next couple of weeks. No more temperature checks at the door when you come in, at least at Kansas Avenue. We may do it one more week at Oakland until we have our board meeting this Tuesday night, but I'm thinking everybody's ready to kind of make these adjustments. I think we've kind of learned a little bit in the last year. So where did we get off on that? I can't remember. Anyway, I guess, I know, it's that eventually we want to do this class in person. And so I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet, whether we're going to do it on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock, if we're going to do it at Kansas Avenue, if we're going to do it at Oakland. I don't know yet, but we've got some exciting things. The other last announcement real quick is that this Saturday morning, which is May the 8th, we're going to have our coffee with Pastor Phil at both churches. So 9 o'clock at Kansas Avenue till 9:45. I'm only going to keep you there 45 minutes. Then I got to go over the bridge and go to Oakland for the same program. And what we're going to do is just kind of hit the reset button, visit amongst each other, listen to each other a little bit, and kind of get ourselves reoriented to where we need to start looking at some visions for the churches. We don't really want to get a bunch of ideas out right then. We could hear a few things. I think we should have some parameters. Obviously, one of them is I think we need to kind of come up with an idea of what we are doing so that it's going to strategically impact the congregations down the road, if especially in terms of bringing in younger people and children. So I think we've really got to look at that. How are we going to do it at both churches? So that's going to be something that we're going to, on the 22nd of May, we'll start our 40 days of prayer. Whew, that's a lot to say right there. So we got a couple of weeks. We're going to fill out these questionnaires too that are just sort of interest surveys, what you're interested in. I may have a few on hand on Sunday, and we'd like to get them turned back in as soon as possible so we can look at them, pray over them, and then get some ideas about where we might be able to plug people. And we'd like to get everybody involved in the ministry, whether it's praying only or maybe doing visitations or making phone calls. That's all ministry. Or maybe it's going to be something more hands-on at the churches, such as maybe leading a Bible study or leading something in your home. So that's where we're at on this. And sorry about that. I keep putting my hand in front of that thing. Whew, man, I tell you, my arms are getting tired. I lost my tripod. I didn't lose it. It broke a couple weeks ago on a Sunday morning. So unfortunately, I don't have my tripod where I can use it. So I got to hold this camera up. Tonight on our confirmation class, we're still going through the 10 Commandments. We are now at the 7th commandment. And I think just real quick, let's go through all of them, shall we? So the first commandment is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. I'll kind of put a little bit of this in my own words, but you shall have no other gods. Number 2 is, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord, your God. So one of them says, don't take the name of the Lord in vain, right? Third is, remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. I like that one. Tried to practice the Sabbath day once a week. I don't get it done very often. That's a challenge. It's a goal. You know, Saturday is my only day I could possibly do that, and my Saturdays usually get just filled up with stuff. 4th commandment, honor your father and your mother. That's a really good one. 5th one is, you shall not murder. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And then last week we talked about the 6th commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. So we won't go back into those today, but those are the first 6. Now we'll do number 7, and this will be a short one again too. Very cut and dried. Thou shalt not steal. I mean, how many ways? If you have to have somebody explain that one to you, chances are you're a kleptomaniac, right? I mean, how hard is it? Thou shalt not steal. People do steal. We have people stealing all the time in Topeka. They're stealing off people's front porches. They're stealing out people's cars. They're breaking windows, stealing. They're going into people's houses, taking stuff that doesn't belong to them. And on and on and on, going into the store, stealing stuff. The list goes on. So the issue, let's just cut to the chase and just say, thou shalt not steal. We should not be stealing. What is stealing? Well, it's taking something that doesn't belong to you. I mean, again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure these 10 commandments out. They were pretty simple. I think everybody can figure them out. I like what Luther's catechism says here in this version. It says we should fear and love God. And I like this because every one of them says we should fear and love God. So the reason we want to obey these commandments is, the first and foremost, we should fear and obey God. That means you're scared of God. It means you honor God. You respect him. You want to please him. So we should fear and love God so that we do not take our neighbor's money or possessions or get them in any dishonest way, but help him to improve and protect his possessions and income. So that's a lot right there. So we don't want to take things that are not done properly from our neighbor. And who is our neighbor? Well, everybody's our neighbor. Remember the story of the Good Samaritan? Who's my neighbor? When Jesus told about this person who helped somebody. Well, everybody is our neighbor. If we're Christians, we should look at everybody as a neighbor. So we don't want to take something that doesn't belong to us, obviously, and we don't want to take something by dishonest means. And then furthermore, we should go beyond that, and we want to help build other people up. So if we can help other people, we want to do that as well. And I think that's really a cool thing that they put on the back here of the message here of the 10 Commandments that were listed here today. Again, I'd like to just read that last part again. But help him improve and protect his possessions and income. So not only do we not want to do something, which is do not steal, but we want to do something positive, which is to help protect our neighbor and his income and her income, and again, to encourage other people. We won't get off on all the things we could talk about there. We'll do that another time, because my phone, for one thing, is about to go down on this. This phone's got like 2% battery. I think the main thing with this, as I think about it today, is we want to love people. If you love people and you love God, you do those two things. You love God first, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. You do those two things, you fulfilled all the commandments, Jesus said. And that is so true, because if we love God and we love our neighbor, we're not going to want to steal. And so we want to follow through and obey God in all that we say and do, and think, for that matter. So I will conclude at that note today. Again, I do hope if you're watching this that you can make it if you feel like you want to and you have some ideas you'd like to share. Just come in and have some coffee. It'll be a fun, informal time. We'll be sitting around the table in all likelihood, or several tables, depending on how many people show up. And again, it'll be at 9 o'clock Saturday, May 8th, 2021 at Kansas Avenue, 1029 North Kansas Avenue. And then at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, May 8th, 2021, same day, just about an hour later, we'll be over at Oakland United Methodist Church, 801 Northeast Chester in Oakland. Same thing, we're just going to visit, try to get everybody kind of on the same page as we start moving forward. And really looking forward to some really fun times. I think the other thing, real quick before I go, is May the 22nd is the day we're going to kick off the 40 days of prayer. And I've been thinking for the last 2 days, how can we do that and really get people excited? So keep tuned in for that. We might be able to do an outdoor service somewhere. I mean, maybe we'll do a concert of prayer at Oakland or at Kansas Avenue. I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll figure something out. And just stay in touch. We will keep you posted. I'm excited about what God's got in store here. Things are starting to open up. And again, we want to be careful, but yet we want to go through the doors when they do open so that we can honor the Lord and help bring other people into the idea of knowing God, having a relationship with Christ. Amen. All right, well, y'all have a great night. So good to have you here. I see... let's see here. Karen, I think, is with us. Y'all are great. We appreciate you. And if you're watching this later, thank you so much. Again, we hope to see you Saturday. And if not, we'll hope to see you Sunday at church. Until then, God bless you. Have a great rest of the evening here on Thursday. Bye-bye.